Thank you to Women in Tech for inviting me to this interesting day and the vital conversations we're having here today. My name is Christina Knight. My daytime job is as a creative director at the Stockholm-based agency, The Amazing Society. I'm also the author of 2 books on gender equality, inclusion and diversity in the communications industry. And I'm a member of UN Women Sweden. And that's the reason for me being here today, because I would like to talk to you briefly about UN Women, and more specifically about an example of a disruptive approach to business as usual within innovation and technology specifically. So I'd like to share my presentation with you to get you on board. And I've chosen to call my presentation, "If you teach a girl to code, she will change the world." And I think you would agree. But first, some background. So, the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a milestone in human history. It was drafted by diplomats from different cultural, economic, legal backgrounds from regions all over the world. And one of them was Eleanor Roosevelt from the United States. The declaration was signed on December 10th in 1948. Now, gender equality is not only a basic human right, but its achievement has enormous socioeconomic ramifications. Because when you empower women, this will fuel thriving economies. It will spur productivity and growth. Yet, gender inequalities remain deeply entrenched in every society. Women lack access to decent work and face occupational segregation and gender wage gaps. They are all too often denied access to basic education and healthcare. Women in all parts of the world suffer violence and discrimination. They are underrepresented in political and economic decision-making. So let's look a little bit at the work and the priorities. UN Women is the United Nations entity dedicated to gender equality and the empowerment of women. A global champion for women and girls, UN Women was established to accelerate progress on meeting their needs worldwide. So UN Women supports UN member states as they set global standards for achieving gender equality and work with governments and civil society to design laws, policies, services and programs that are needed to ensure that the standards are effectively implemented and truly benefit women and girls worldwide. So over several decades now, the United Nations has made significant progress in advancing gender equality, including through landmark agreements such as, for example, the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action in 1995, and the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW. Now, for many years, the United Nations faced serious challenges in its efforts to promote gender equality globally, including inadequate funding and no single recognized driver to direct UN activities on gender equality issues. So, in July 2010, the United Nations General Assembly created UN Women, so in 2010 only. UN Women, then, the United Nations entity for gender equality and the empowerment of women, to be able to address these challenges properly. And in doing so, UN member states took a historic step in accelerating the organization's goals on gender equality and the empowerment of women. The creation of UN Women came about as part of the UN reform agenda, bringing together resources and mandates for greater impact. It merges and builds on the important work of 4 previously distinct parts of the UN system, which focused exclusively on gender equality and women's empowerment. And they were the Division for the Advancement of Women, DAW, the International Research and Training Institute for the Advancement of Women, INSTRAW, the Office of the Special Advisor on Gender Issues and Advancement of Women, OSAGI, and finally the United Nations Development Fund for Women, known as UNIFEM. UN Women works globally to make the vision of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, a reality for women and girls, and stand behind women's equal participation in all aspects of life, focusing on 4 strategic priorities. The first one being women lead, participate in, and benefit from governance systems in an equal way to men. The second one being women have income security, decent work, and economic autonomy. The third one, the third strategic priority, is all women and girls live a life free from all forms of violence. And the fourth and final principle is that women and girls contribute to and have greater influence in building sustainable peace and resilience, and benefit equally from the prevention of natural disasters and conflicts and humanitarian action. So UN Women coordinate and promote the UN system's work in advancing gender equality and in all deliberations and agreements linked to the 2030 agenda. So the entity works to position gender equality as fundamental to the Sustainable Development Goals and a more inclusive world. So the achievement of the ambitious SDGs, notably gender equality and women's empowerment, requires transformative shifts, integrated approaches, and new solutions. Based on current trajectories, existing interventions will not suffice to achieve Planet 50-50 by 2030, and therefore innovative approaches that disrupt business as usual are central to delivering the SDGs for everyone. So innovation and technology provide unprecedented opportunities to break trends and reach those who are most likely to be left behind. So this is why UN Women has prioritized innovation technology as one of the drivers of change within its new draft strategic plan 2018 to 2021. I would like to give you what I think is a beautiful example of what this priority can look like in real life. So this is the Angelina Jolie Primary School. And it's a boarding school for primary girls in standard 5 to 8. It's located within the Kakuma refugee camp, so within a refugee camp. And it was created in order to give refugee girls who were particularly vulnerable. I mean, they were exposed to domestic violence, to female genital mutilation, forced marriage, prostitution, etc. So to give them a safe haven. So the school is well guarded, and it needs to be well guarded. It's situated away from the bustle of the actual camp and provides the safe haven for girls to learn in a nurturing environment. There is special support available at the school, including counseling and extra tutorials. So needless to say, the girls thrive in this environment. So at this school in the Kakuma refugee camp in northwestern Kenya, girls are empowered by their newfound passion for computer coding. So in Kakuma and across the world, young women experience unequal access to education and skills development, particularly in the field of ICT. So a group of computer science students in the camp have become vocal advocates for themselves and their peers, pushing against the gender biases and the stereotypes that unfortunately often steer girls away from the knowledge and skills that they have found so valuable. This is Nia Mam in this photograph, and I have a quote from her. She says, "Not many girls and women are in this field. It's dominated by men, but I would like to let girls know that they can do great things." And her friend Umo Hossa, who we will see in the next picture, she says something which I think is so heartwarming and promising. She says, if you have a talent or a dream, let people know. Show it to people. Show them that we are capable and we can change the world. Now, there's a regional program put in place here called Women's Leadership, Empowerment, Access and Protection in Crisis Response. It was funded by the government of Japan, and UN Women has supported this program within the Kakuma refugee camp, but also in the Kalobaye settlement, so nearby communities. And all in all, UN Women has then managed through this program to reach 2,850 people in only 1 year, 2018 to 19. This project has equipped women in the camp and host communities with livelihood and leadership skills. It's also supported advocacy efforts to prevent violence against women, improve girls' access to technology, and involve more women in humanitarian action. With technology and digital tools in hand, the girls' aspirations are boundless. Together, Umo Hossa, Niamam, and Momima have coded a computer game, and they have plans to create an app. We want to work together when we grow up, making learning easier for girls, says Niamam, who has an idea for an app that teaches coding for girls in rural areas. And her friend Umo Hossa chimes in, I have a dream to create a social media platform for all different schools around the world, like Facebook, where students can share different ideas and experiences. She explains that learning standards can vary greatly across schools, so students would benefit from a tool that allows them to share knowledge and learn from one another. Having lived in conflict for much of their lives, studying in the boarding school is the first opportunity that many of these young girls have to focus on their education. Niamam says, in this school, for the first time in my life, I started using the internet. I learned about computer hardware and software. She also explains the many challenges that girls face in the camp due to the ingrained gender stereotypes. She says, and I quote, those who make it to school, when they come home, they have to leave the books and go to the kitchen to cook and do chores because the boys don't do such work. So the girls don't get time to study. Being in a boarding school, therefore, is such a privilege. And it is a privilege that Niamam is determined to put to good use. Niamam and her classmates, 150 students in all, have learned to design websites, computer games, and certificates using HTML and Scratch, which is a free online programming language. So each Wednesday, they attend computer class, and the school's ICT club has 30 members. Now, what I have shown you is only one example of many, many programs with across the globe to bring gender equality to our societies. I would like to encourage you to visit our website to learn more about this specific program, but also the other 12 flagships and 4 pipeline flagship programs that UN Women is involved in all over the world. And one last thing, to be able to achieve our goals with gender equality, we need your help. We need funds. So I humbly would like to ask you and encourage you to support our work, either by becoming a donor by Swish or as a monthly donor. Thank you for your time and attention, and please keep safe.